High five.
All right.
You survived the snow?
We survived the snow. Welcome back to the Vince and Brent show. Brent and Vince show. I don't know who gets top billing. Probably me because I got to say it. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Good. So we had this huge snowstorm. You survived that?
Survived it. We made it up to 120th and I-25 to visit with an attorney, which was an awesome conversation.
We did. And that was like the day after the big snowstorm. It was like a Friday.
And Brent said he would drive. But of course, I get to his house, and there's no way he's getting his car out of his neighborhood.
You know,
because he drives a car that doesn't do well in snow.
it does fine in snow. It just doesn't do really well over like huge embankments of snow, which the snow plows kind of pushed up against my driveway. But fortunately, Vince, brought his big macho truck that gets 3 miles a gallon, and
But it got us there safely.
It got us there safely, and rammed down the snowbank in front of my driveway, so I could take my Tesla out.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah. All worked.
Remember, he owns a Tesla. All right.
All right. Here's my little green light on. Yes.
No. Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're on. All right.
Just checking. I saw yours. I was like,
So this is interesting.
What's interesting?
I had a client talking about looking at houses on the internet. Should they go directly through the agent on the internet? Should they not go directly through the agent on the internet? And there's just a lot of confusion in the world about how do people find their perfect home. So I was hoping you could shed some light on that today.
So I think there's two things you have to think about when you're looking for your perfect home. One, I hear a lot about, hey, why should a buyer's agent get paid a bunch of money for just opening up a door that I found on Zillow, right? I totally get that. They shouldn't get paid for that. And for the most part, they don't. What buyer's agents get paid for is being your advocate. So think about it this way. If you look up a house on Zillow and you're like, hey, I love that house. I want to go see it, talk to the person about it, whatever it is, and you call the listing agent. By law, the listing agent is required to look out for the seller's best interest. They are not looking out for the buyer's best interest. Now, they can't lie, cheat, or steal, but they're doing everything they can to get the most money, to get the best terms for the seller, to get everything else that benefits the seller.
Okay, so what if the listing agent agrees to represent both? What do you call that?
So you can double end a deal and do that. And then they could be, there's two ways of doing it.
Is there a term for that?
No. So there's a transaction broker, which is maybe what you're thinking about.
That's probably what it is.
So you can either be a transaction broker, or you can treat the other person, the person who called you up on the phone, as a client, right? And that all depends on your agreement with the seller before you even list the house. So before you list the house, most sellers want you to be on their side no matter what. It's why I paid you. It's why I hired you, right? You're there to protect me. I don't want you to switch over and just be neutral, right? Typically, I'm only a transaction broker when there are two sides that already have come to an agreement and they just want me to push paper.
Okay.
Right? Other than that, I tell people, it's really hard for me to be a transaction broker because it's hard for me to be neutral, right? I want to be able to tell you, hey, I think that looks like a problem, or I think that they may have some issues, right? As a transaction broker, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm supposed to be totally neutral. I'm just pushing paper. So typically being a transaction broker for me is not a great thing. I will do it occasionally. And like I said, it's usually when someone says, hey, I've got a buyer over here and my neighbor wants to buy my house, right? We're selling my mother's house and my neighbor wants to buy my mother's house. That's great. We've already talked. We already agreed on a price. All we need is for you to do the paperwork. In that case, yes, then I become a transaction broker.
Got it. So back to this finding a house. So you had said something interesting the other day to where do individual consumers have access to the MLS?
They don't have access to the actual MLS, but they have access to all of the information, most of the information on the MLS and all of the properties on the MLS.
Okay.
So every time that I put a property in that I list, I push a button on the MLS and I say, share this through IDX. I don't know what IDX stands for, but basically it means share it to all other websites who subscribe to this program where they pull information from the MLS. So that's Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, all of those get the same information pulled. So it's not different. There are some things on the MLS that I get to see that those people don't, and consumers don't get to see. But as far as are there houses that are secretly on the MLS that are not on Zillow, really, really rare, I would say. I mean, I don't know, I want to say never, but it's pretty damn rare that you wouldn't find something.
Okay,
like that.
so let's say that I hire you to find me a house. Okay. Are you going to send me listings in my criteria? Or are you going to make it easy for me to pick out a house? Or do I just need to stick to Zillow?
So one thing that we do that's different than maybe your typical, agent, we go through and I spend a lot of time talking to you about what's really important to you about buying a house, right? Getting into the details of it. So when I look at that, it's more than, hey, I want a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house in Castle Rock. That's not really what, my job is. My job is to kind of dig a little bit deeper, find out what's really important for you, learn what you're really looking for. Because sometimes buyers they don't quite put it all together because they don't have the experience. So they think they want this, right? And then they look at a couple of houses and I'm listening to them as we're going through the houses and then find out, yeah, that's really not what we're looking for, but they don't quite get it. So sometimes I'll be able to say, here's a house maybe in an area that you're not looking at, but I think is worth considering. That's where, my expertise comes in.
Okay. So start with Zillow?
Start with Zillow, start wherever you want. Most people.
Well, I guess the most important thing is sit down with you, make sure we're clear on exactly what we're looking for.
So I would say number one, before you sit down with me, sit down with Vince, right?
Who's Vince? Oh, this guy right here.
Sit down with this guy, and the idea is, because we all think we have an idea of what we can afford, and it's easy to look online and say, oh, here's this or that, but until you actually go through the application process and you pull credit and do some other things, you don't know what things are going to be, and you don't know what the costs are really going to be.
You want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
You sure?
Well,
It's quick.
It's funny.
All right. So Geraldine called me yesterday. Okay?
Geraldine
called me yesterday. And Geraldine said that she talked to a real estate agent and she told them that she wanted a payment between $2,500 and $3,000. The real estate agent responded with, "You're never going to find anything in that payment range. Talk to you later." So Geraldine called me and I'm like, well, let's run the numbers and figure out, what we can do and what you can afford at that range. But I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. And Geraldine's like, I didn't know what to say. I guess I can't afford a house right now. And it was just a funny story.
And I would tell you, one of the things is, I know my lane. Like, I'm really good at what I do.
Eileen?
My lane.
Your lane.
Right?
Okay.
I keep in my lane. I know what I'm really good at, right? And I'm not good at that. And I think there are a lot of things that you do that people don't know. Like, hey, you could change your down payment. Maybe Geraldine had a whole bunch of money to put down. And so, hey, that makes a whole lot of difference to stay in that range, right? So first thing is talk to you. Second thing is sit down with me and let's talk about what's really important to you about buying a new home and what it really means. Once I get that, finding out what's important to you is important to me. Once we get that dialed in, then my typical thing is let's go out. We're going to look at 5 or 6 houses. They're just going to be random houses, right? Not houses that you pick, not ones that you think like, oh, this is one I want to buy. Let's just go look at 5 houses together. I want to listen to you as you walk through the house. I want you to tell me, oh, I love this, I hate this, this is, just a no-go, right? Typically after that first round of 5 houses, then we start narrowing in on, okay, here's what I really want, right?
That's interesting that you say that. Okay? Because I can relate that to just about every aspect of my life. Okay? So Garrett and I were on a college visit. It's our 3rd college visit for wrestling. And every time we take a college visit, we learn something different about the university. So it really comes down to, like you said, the wants and the needs, because all the money in the world would not convince us to go to certain colleges. And lack of money from other colleges may be a better fit, even though they are giving less money. So it's been an interesting process for me the last couple days, just looking at colleges and what is it that Garrett wants. Not not what I want, not what my parents want, not what his parents want, but what is it that Vincent G. Reese really wants. And it kind of all ties together, though.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. Do you find that when you're going on these college tours that you learn stuff that you didn't know, that you didn't even know?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I think is the key to doing that type of thing, where you go out and I didn't even know that I didn't know this, right?
Uh-huh.
If I hadn't gone on this tour, I wouldn't have known that this was important to me because I didn't even know it was a thing.
Right. So some of these coaches are high pressure. If you don't sign now, this offer may not be here tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah.
And it goes back to real estate agents. It goes back, everything can tie back to anything. So it's like, do you want to be pressured? Do I want to be pressured into signing a piece of paper? My answer is no. You tell me to do something, and Geraldine's going to tell me to do something, and I'm going to be like, I'm not doing it. Even if it's right or wrong, I'm not going to do it because I was told to do it. And these coaches have those same personalities. Some of them are very laid back. It's like, we want you to make the best decision. Some of them are like, you sign the day, or it's not going to be there. The offer's off the table. And I believe there has to be a happy medium to no matter who you work with.
Well, I think it's important that for some people, that high pressure, they like that, they want that. For some people that, hey, you know what? I want to know more about it. I want to dig deeper. I want to know more about you and your situation. And I want the best for you. Sometimes that's the best for people. People have different personalities, right? There are, 1.6 million realtors in the United States or something like that. There's like some ungodly number of realtors, right? People with licenses. And we're all different, right? Sometimes, there are definitely those, you have to sign today or it's over, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a one-time deal. Sometimes high pressure, people are like, hey, I want that person. I want someone who's really high pressure to represent me. Sometimes people are more, interested in, I want someone who's really interested in what is important to me. I want someone who's really cares about my needs rather than just pushing me into a decision. Right? So it just depends on who you are, right? Personally, I'm not a high pressure kind of guy, but I really think it's important that I understand what's going on in people's heads and what's important to them.
And this is what's crazy, though. There's people out there, mortgage professionals, life insurance professionals, insurance professionals, real estate agents, just people in general that don't give 2 cents about what I'm thinking, or that don't, all they're looking for is that transaction. And there's still people out there like that. And that's why it's really important for me to work with somebody that I truly trust, that's gonna, help me make good decisions. Not make the decision for me, but help me to make good decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's one of the things that, when people start talking about,
Are you looking at that camera too?
no, I'm just looking at you.
What were you saying?
I thanks for breaking it up right in the middle of my thought. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some other stuff. I totally forgot where we were.
All right, well, I got something for you.
Okay.
So when we post this video, if anybody can guess my middle name, they will be entered into a $25 Amazon drawing.
All right.
Okay? So make sure you submit your guesses on my middle name. And there's been little hints throughout this podcast that
Little or big.
that can steer you in the right direction.
All right.
All right?
And I will tell you, I don't know. Parker doesn't know what your middle name is, but we're gonna guess and get in on this soon.
All right.
All right.
So you were talking about...
Can we give them at least the information that I know?
No.
No. Okay.
There's enough hints.
All right, here's a little information. My mother's name was so long, she did not receive a middle name. But I was named after my mother.
Okay.
That's what you get.
All right.
We will hold the
Vince
drawing.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Reese.
There you go.
There you go. All
And
right.
it begins with a G.
It begins with a G.
So you were talking about finding out what people really want and helping them to come up with their own decisions.
Yeah. So, and I think that that's the key to whoever you're using as a buyer's agent. One, it's important that they understand what's important to you. Two, their job is probably not going to be to find you the house and send it to you, right? It happens. But most of the time, it's going to be, hey, I'm going to help you sort through what you've seen, what you've looked at on Zillow, right? Because all the houses that are out there on MLS are also out there on Zillow. That's really not, when I look at it, that's not my job. My job is to help you decide what the criteria is and what's important to you. My second job is to help you decide what you need to do to get the house under contract, right? And how to get the best deal for you, how to protect you, right? Going through all of the stages, being on your side as an advocate. That's what really I get paid for, right? It's not looking for houses, not opening doors. That's what I do kind of just as a, right? We all do because you have to get in the house somehow.
Got it.
But that's not what I get paid for. I get paid for the negotiation, for my expertise, and for being able to guide you in what's really important to you. And getting you all the way to close, because there's nothing more heartbreaking than being 3/4 of the way through the process and having something fall apart because you didn't know what you didn't know.
Didn't know what you didn't know. I love that thought.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that you can add that people, when they're interviewing agents or looking online at houses?
No, I think one of the most important things is just remember that when you're looking online on Zillow and you see the listing agent and you think, oh, well, I can save money by not hiring a buyer's agent. The truth is that agent, they are legally responsible to protect the seller, to get the best for the seller, right? No matter what they, how nice they are to you, and they are, and they're not going to lie, they're not going to cheat, they're not going to steal, right? If they know something terrible about the house, if it has a leaky roof, they're going to tell you, right? But in the end, they are legally responsible to protect the seller, not you. So I think it's important for buyers to have somebody on their side that can help them negotiate and get through the process and protect them.
But you do both sides sometimes.
Rarely, but yes.
Okay. And my feedback has been that for the buyers, I mean, a lot of times they may have just an attorney check out paperwork, stuff like that. But there's still a trust factor for you when you are doing both sides of the transaction. So it does happen.
It does happen. Yep. It does happen. And like I said, it's pretty rare because I have a hard time shutting up, right?
No way.
Yeah, that's and that's the thing is I need to be as upfront and honest with people as I can. So yes, it happens, and I do everything I can to be as honest as I can. That's how I look at it, right? I can't advocate for the other side, but I can be very honest, and that is that's the important thing is to know what you don't know what's important to you.
Very good.
So
So I would just recommend that if anybody has questions, reach out to us,
yeah, absolutely.
and we'd be more than happy to sit down and talk about it. Again, this is the Brent and Vince show, or the Vince and Brent show, or the Brent and Vince show. Vince and Brent, Brent and Vince, whatever, it doesn't matter. And don't forget, guess my middle name, and you can be entered into
The drawing for $25
Amazon card.
Amazon card. I like it.
You like that?
I do.
Or are you actually going to pay half of that?
No, I'm going to guess. I'm going to want to guess. I don't know what you meant.
Now hold on.
Yeah, I have as much information as everybody else out there. So yeah, I know that it starts with G and it's long, and it was your mother's name or related to your mother's name. So yeah, no, I'm not. I'm hoping to win the $25.
Guess what? He will not win it, no matter what. There is a clause in the contract.
Amazingly, in the random drawing, my name will not get pulled. All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate you today.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice talking.
Thanks. Join us again next time when we get together to talk about the next thing.